We are now live.
Okay.
Good afternoon, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the next session, which is a presentation on airline retailing, and this is a perspective from SITA for aircraft. As mentioned earlier, this last segment of this program will be focusing on airline retailing. We shall start with a 15 minutes presentation by SITA, where they shall give us the perspective from SITA for aircraft. And this shall be followed by a panel discussion. And to give a brief, the presentation will be made by Deepak Garg. Deepak is a senior executive with over 20 years of experience of sales, business development, and operations. He is passionate about the aviation industry and an enthusiastic advocate of the digital transformation and new ways of working enabled by the connectivity across fleets, between solutions, and among people. As a business development for aircraft solutions, Deepak works with customers and sales to ensure that SITA on Air is maintaining its market leadership by creating added value for customers through SITA on Air nose-to-tail aircraft connectivity portfolio. He will be giving us some insights from the perspective of SITA for aircraft on African retailing and zeroing in on the African context. Deepak, you have the floor for the next 15 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Maureen, for a very lovely introduction. I did not know so much about myself, but thank you very much for that. Good day, distinguished guest, and very happy to be here, especially to get an opportunity to speak just before the panel discussion on the airline retailing. So it's obviously a privilege. I'll try to set the stage. I'll briefly touch upon the airline retailing, which in my view, most of you already know very well before even, that, but still, I will still share with you what we do. And what I will be touching upon today is, one is the airline retailing, and then I will dwell into that what is our perspective from the retailing point of view, especially SITA for aircraft, which is a aircraft-centric solution entity within the SITA. All right. Next slide, please. So what is retailing? Most of the time retailing terminology is very loosely used with the ancillary term, that is ancillary revenue. And I have a kind of issue with that kind of term. So ancillary seems like this is not so important, and that's why ancillary. My view is that airlines are not just providing a connectivity from point A to point B. That's everyone does, but like you put your attention into the what kind of seat you are putting in, what kind of in-flight entertainment you're putting in. So it's everything what you're putting on the top of the ticket, which is there for fare, which is from traveling to one point to other point, is everything is a product. And we all want to do that, that people from material and people movement, we are in that business of them, but how do we do it more efficiently is what's more important. Do you have any guess of what is the kind of profitability airlines do it? So we are looking at about $6.5 profitability are typically most of the airlines are doing, and I'd actually associate that with the burger. At different parts of Africa, we definitely know it might be charged differently, but on average, this is the kind of revenue profitability airlines are making on per passenger basis. So that is where I think retailing becomes all the more critical. It becomes all the more important that how do we do that? How do we get customer at every contact point, every touch point when the customer gets in touch with them? Bringing them into the same context is, when does that customer comes to you? So you have the various touch points. First of when the actually passenger is coming, and here we are purely focusing on the passenger side of the business. We'll stay focused on that. So first, when they actually start looking for when they're actually traveling, so they might be doing the online travel. That's one of the opportunities you get it, or they're going to travel agent. That could be another point of thing, or they're buying the ticket. That could be another point of opportunity. They will be checking things, they will be checking in online or checking kiosk everywhere. You will see that there is an opportunity for you to do that. And one of the classic, I like one of the best retailing experiences when you go to a McDonald's. Like McDonald's is my very good subject for retailing, is that when you're buying a burger, what do they say? Would you like to have a fry? Would you like to have a cola? Similarly, all these touch points actually provide you with an opportunity as well to actually into sell. What we will be doing today is purely focus on the aircraft, and why I find that as important. I will talk more about it, that where the retailing is becomes important. Okay, thanks. Next. So continent is we were since the AFRA will stay focused on the African part of it, and more importantly, I would say the sub-Sahara part of the Africa. Uh, it is one of the biggest continents, second largest actually, and we know about it. But I have been dealing with Africa region for about say 14 years now, pretty traveling quite aggressively on the length and breadth of Africa. When I speak to the people outside and people who are away, the common thing is the sense is that Africa strategy. I said, what is Africa strategy? Don't treat Africa like a country. you know it's a it's combination of about 54 and plus minus 3 4, which is a contentious over 50 countries, 54 1500 to 2000 languages. They are different. Each and every country is different. So when you're putting a strategy, it's important that how you put it there. We see that Africa's economy is booming, and we have seen that how it is booming. We're seeing that digital cash is booming a big time in Sahara. To give you a kind of sense, we are talking of $500 billion of transactions takes place. To give an example of the size that how big the African digital crash, uh, uh, I think, can you just move this to this? Can you put, yeah, we talk booming. Oh, but yeah, that's it. I'll come to that. Thank you. So we're talking of $500 billion of the transactions takes place on the mobile cash. That is what is happening within the sub-Sahara Africa. Compared to the Europe and North Africa, it's only $15 billion. So 500 billion versus 15 billion. The purpose of the reason I'm putting all this in, that you are diverse. As an Africa, as a country, we are very, very diverse. We are very, very agile. We are very, very adaptable to taking the new technologies on board. Your natural resources are vast. You have the best of the natural resources, and this is where you are. Because of these resources, because of this economy, people have to move. People and material both have to move. We are focusing only on the people side of it today. And when they have to move, what is the challenge you have? You have a very weak road, and our road and surface infrastructure is pretty weak. Whether we are talking of the road or whether taking of the rail between across the continent, we have a challenge there. And that is where the airline industry becomes all the more important. That's, in a way, in my view, is an opportunity for us. We have a very strong mobile network across. That is an opportunity for us. And that is, can you move to next slide? Next, press once. So when you are actually traveling across, we have this captive customers when we are traveling them. And please, this is where I wanted to bring on, when the aircraft and the airline point of view and the passenger point of view. When a passenger is coming at the door of an aircraft, that is the first time you are actually interacting with your customer. That's the first time, in most cases, you are engaging with the passenger. Because before that, either the passenger is doing the online booking, so it's on the web, or doing the travel agent, which is not airline, or you're going to the call center, which is also not an airline. When you're checking at the airport, that's a ground service. Then, so only when actually he or she are greeted at the door, that is the first time airline is getting in touch with the passenger, and that is our opportunity there as a captive customer. We are the length and breadth of it. So if we look at the average connection of which is opportunity where it exists, even for the short haul, we have seen in the Europe and the Asian side of it, in short haul, you have a lot of opportunities to do this retailing part of it. And if you have a 3 to 6 hour, you have all the more opportunities there. So can you please click once again? So what we are seeing, the opportunity here is that you have a complete comprehensive data. You have it here. So you have, what we need in this case is we need a complete what we are saying from the aircraft point of view, complete onboard sales process. Sales process is not just putting some devices in the hands of the cabin crew and making them sell. It is not really a retail. It is very passive process, and that will not grow. Whoever, you would have learned it from your own experiences that how much of it has really helped if you have not actually put the back end processes very strong. And let me talk more about it. Cabin connectivity here becomes all the more helpful if you have add the cabin connectivity to the passenger, since your passengers are already have the very good ground mobile network. People are traveling from all over the world. So if you don't take care of these passengers, if we don't do that, take care of these passengers, our competition will do that. Middle Eastern carriers and other carriers will end up taking up them, and they will move these people into all these places. So therefore, I believe is that cabin connectivity service is typically very useful. You should have a we should look at building up a very strong sales process for improving and helping the cabin crew make better sales. And of course, you need a reliable service partner to in order to do that. Next. So some of the industry trends which we believe our airlines are want to for the boost of the in-flights. I just put up a small reference there for the Ryanair and the Emirates here. This is not the ancillary sales. What we believe is the 5% of the total ancillary. I'm using the word ancillary because that's most commonly understood, is that ancillary sales we believe is the onboard sales is what we are doing. And 5% of the onboard sales and translates to for the Ryanair is 151 million. And for approximately when we are looking at about for Emirates, same 5% of the total ancillary sales is only 8 million. Look at the context. If you Africa, I don't have too much of data because not very widely published, but we have seen that for the Kenya, we have seen approximately, we looked at about $2 per passengers. That is what we looked at. And I have some data somewhere. Yeah. So that is the amount of number we are talking about. Kenya had about, I think 3.43 million, approximately 43 million they did about from the ancillary revenue. And so approximately $24, but that's total. 5% of that is only translates to the $2 per passenger. So we are looking at digitization of the, can you click once please? So we are actually digitizing the paper-based sales process. Our sales process currently is most of the time we see that people are carrying that catalog or the duty-free shop. Please don't mix the duty-free with the onboard sales. Duty-free is different. Onboard sales can be anything. It can be your meals also. That is also onboard sales. So onboard and duty free sales are different. So I think that is one point I wanted to make it sure that we understand that the ability of cabin crew to from the product point of view, you can be very diverse what you want to offer to your customer. You want to offer as a low cost carrier just the ticket, and then you want to add each and every service. Do you also provide the opportunity through the cabin crew on board to make those decisions? So it is not just the tool, it is the processes, and that's where we help of putting a process in place, and you do that. That is what is important. A service provider should be able to do that. We need to improve upon the decision making process, how well we can help them make the decision process. We do not have the visibility. Typically, what is the visibility? We load the same equipment, same items time and again on the aircraft. It doesn't matter whether you're flying from Johannesburg to Kenya or Kenya to Cairo or Kenya to or Cairo to Casablanca. It is more or less if the airline is flying, or let's say for a hub, if you're looking at a hub from Johannesburg to, it doesn't matter whether you're flying to Kenya or you're flying to Lusaka, you end up loading up the scene. I'm not saying when I say we, I'm saying or you, I'm saying not you as a specific, but that's what the trend we have seen. If you do not have a really back-end engine, that's why I'm stressing that is where you need to personalize. You need to know your passengers, our passengers, who are our passengers on board. If we understand them, that is how we do that. That's the whole purpose of doing that. We actually reduce the cost of operations, right? Next. So next please. Yeah. So role of cabin crew, as I mentioned, is just limited to onboard sales, and that is onboard sales is a very active communication. They have to have a good activity, and they have to have gone through a cabin crew training process. So once you build up the in-flight sales strategy, there's in-flight sales strategy will help you put together what is the kind of cabin crew training you need to do that. They need to have the product visibility. They need to have the what kind of product you need to associate with which passenger. That is the kind of training we build up on a communication capabilities. And how do we continue keep them motivated? Some of the jobs as a cabin crew can be extremely tiring, right? Then on the top of it, in-flight sales process, what is the inventory? As I mentioned, you want to keep on a specific flight. What are the kind of payment and transaction? What kind of flexibility? As I said, digital cash, the mobile cash is very, very popular in we have seen in the whole of Africa, whether it's M-Pesa or OPay, or I think we eNaira recently introduced in Nigeria. So we need to consider the different modes of payment mechanism, what people can do that. So whether you want to handle cash, whether they want to handle the credit card or debit cards or what, and that too payments has to be secure. The security is definitely, you all know who are from the ancillary and the retail side of the business, that how much of revenue is actually lost in the fraud side of it. So it has to be a secured kind of a payment mechanism. We need to do that. And at the end of the day, the system should be able to assess that every cabin crew performance, you actually are rating your cabin crew performance on the onboard sales, how they're doing it. Because once you, in my view, whatever cannot be measured cannot be improved. So if we actually measure the performance of it on the route wise performance, we can have the route wise performance, we have cabin crew wise performance. That is an opportunity for us to train and improve on that. And that is, after we have done all these things, we actually come to the in-flight sales tool, and that is where you put on the hand of the device a kind of iPad onto device, and that is what they allows you to sell, right? Thanks. Next. So what are the key functionalities? So let's next. So when we talked about the process, the first and foremost comes here is when you're planning and the order management tool. How are we planning it? What is the menu? What we are trying to put it up there? How Kenya Airways might be thinking would be different from Ethiopian to the Airlink to the Air Mauritius to various carriers. Whether it's Tanzanian Airlines, Uganda Airlines, you all are, most of you are having the in-flight connectivity also now. So how are you going to leverage that? What is the kind of route? Do you want to offer them in-flight connectivity as part of the retail while on the board? They say, okay, I will give you the WhatsApp connect. So it's a retail menu. What is the planning you want to do that? What is the kind of settings you want to put on the onboard? What kind of galley planning settings you want GLP? There's a galley planning setting. What is the kind of, so all those things goes on. And what I will be doing, I'll be moving a bit fast because Maureen has said 15 minutes and nothing more. And if you can squeeze in, because we are running late, will have these slides and you can always go. So next. So then it comes a product management tool when you are actually seeing, okay, if this is what all is required, what is the kind of pricing we need to do that? What is the kind of bundling we want to do that? How do I want to demonstrate to my passengers, and how do I want to demonstrate to my cabin crew? So those are the things which we, and then to ensure the security of it and the safety of it, and avoid the pilferage. Are you actually the card seal number? Are you actually tallying with that? What is the seal number came in? You took the stock with that, and you compare that with what is actually written there, and you actually retail that. And when you close the flight, you should be able to tell that, okay, I closed the flight, what is there? This will help you save a lot of pilferage and other problems which you today might be facing. Next, please. Once you have done the product management, you have to now go now we deal with the vendor. How do I actually doing the vendor? How are we doing managing those vendors in our system? So you may have a vendor system today, but how do you put them into your system? How do you actually manage them? What is the kind of agreements you want to set up? What kind of the SLAs you want to set up with them? What kind of access you want to give it to them, the system? So those are the kind of things which you might like to access on that. And then if you go next, just give me 2, 3, just put all of them, one and one more. Thank you. So once we have done that, we work on the inventory management side, and then we do sales work for that, how the entire sales workflow will happen while on the board. When you're getting the passenger manifest, based on the passenger manifest, what are the different loyalty details you have it from them? What is their previous experience you have with them? What is the kind of thing do they have? Is there a marriage anniversary is coming in? And all this information I can fed back into the analytic tool. So say for example, you would like to load, if you are having the flights during around the Christmas, you would like to load on certain kind of thing. That's whether you would like to have some kind of a perfumes, you want to have a small wine bottles there, what is it you want to load? And you can use this also data from the previous year. Okay, what was more successful, what did we run out of in the last year during the Christmas, around the Christmas time? So maybe I didn't sell much perfume, but I be able to sell more of a wine bottle, so maybe I'll load more of a wine. So this is a complete cycle in which we continuously you would like to go through when you're analyzing any kind of implementing of the onboard sales process. And I would again remind you, please do not mix the onboard sales with the duty-free sales. They are different. Next. And so once we have done that, I think these would be known to most of you, and there may be people may not be with the same name, but you will be able to associate them with these kind of roles which are doing that. There is one person, and what I have done here is try to put together from the market context, is that if these are the roles of the people, uh, what are the typical challenges they are facing on a day-to-day basis? So say for example, tomorrow you're evaluating any system, you have to implement for the onboard. So you can keep this as a template with you. You said, okay, are they as a vendor, as a supplier, as a services, are they meeting these requirements or not? So typically for digitization manager, he said, oh my God, there are so many solutions in the market, what to look for the solutions. There are many sales and retail application, but are they specific to the airline or not? Is it typically blends with the rest of the backend system what we have? Does it integrate with them? What kind of partner do you want to work with them? So those are the kind of things that typically a digitization manager would be going through. And where the cabin crew manager would be saying that, how do I do my training? That am I doing the right kind of training? Am I reaching the limits of my training? I do not have the visibility of each and every cabin crew performance. How are they doing it? How was the performance of a specific route? How was the performance of a specific cabin crew? They will not be have the typically, the processes, that amount of the stuff which we are trying to do that. Let's conclude. Okay. All right. So, okay. I got the message. So these are the things which they thought where the Igor, if I see the in-flight sales manager, he would be looking at, admin, what are the admin costs? What are the typical for management costs? I don't know who my passengers are on this, on this flight. What is the kind of information? I do not have the trends. How did I perform it during the last summer on this specific routes? If you're connecting in the winters, if you're flying somebody, if you're on the southern, say for example, your flights in the southern hemisphere, you're flying into northern hemisphere, so weather is quite different. So how are you is it worthwhile taking some specific items onto your onboard, which will be helpful and people might be looking for it? And Louis is typically the cabin crew. She has an old challenges, and I leave it there for you to go through it when you get the complete deck we're running. So can we go to the next slide, please? So I would like to conclude, please. Next. So one of the things which are from the SITA's perspective is, when we look at the aircraft SITA for aircraft perspective, is that we highly recommend and motivate people to digitize their onboard sales process. And when we look at the onboard sales process is like a tip of the iceberg. What you see on the at the tip is about 5%, but the processes behind that almost 95%, which are actually happening on the ground. So careful when you're implementing it. Typically look at you can build up your own processes, and sometimes it is useful to take some of the systems which have the best of the practices in place. So it will help you put your processes in place, do that. And then, we have been helping almost more than 15 airlines to digitize their cabin crew services. And if you have the quality of a good quality in-flight connectivity, it further supports what you're doing on how you're helping the cabin crew to do the better onboard sales process. That's all from my side. Maureen, over to you.
Thank you very much, Deepak, for giving us an in-depth perspective on the retailing and explaining very well some differences in the terminologies, onboard sales, ancillary revenues that for some of us, we were not very clear about. And now the panel discussion that is following this presentation will delve into detail. We have 4 panelists who are lined up to discuss in detail how airlines can use retailing for profitability. And join us at the next session, which we are going to open in the next 1 minute. Any questions that you may have for Deepak, we will be happy to channel this through to our colleagues at SITA. Please send us an email, afra@afra.org. And if you wish to get in touch with SITA for aircraft for any further support, we'll be happy to give you the link to our colleagues at SITA. The presentations will be shared to all participants after the event, and we have the contact details of Deepak included therein. Thank you very much, and let's meet at the next session. Bye-bye.
Thank you.